Two young Temple children are left without their parents following a murder-suicide over the weekend.
News 10's Alex Fulton joins us in studio. Alex, what are the next steps for these Charter Oak Elementary School students?
Lauren and Gordon, today 9-year-old Brielle Armstrong and 6-year-old Jediah Armstrong will be moved from Dallas to Georgia to live with their grandmother. This all comes after the unexpected and sudden loss of both of their parents.
I had absolutely no idea.
A tragedy took place at this home in Temple.
I found out all of the specifics of the incident after the fact.
According to Temple police, on Saturday morning, Britton Armstrong shot and killed his wife, Jasmine Armstrong, on Broken Shoe Trail. Temple police says he then took off, crashed his car, and eventually died by a self-inflicted gunshot wound near Lorena on northbound I-35.
I knew both the mother and the father. I was friends with both of them, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking.
9-year-old Brielle and 6-year-old Jediah now without a mom and dad.
He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
To be with my Lord. Oh, I'm going up yonder. I'm going up yonder. I'm going up yonder.
She was almost free. Her bags were packed, her keys in hand, ready to start anew. But before she could walk out the door, everything unraveled. On the morning of March 23, 2024, 36-year-old Jasmine Armstrong was discovered shot to death inside her residence on Broken Shoe Trail in Temple, Texas. Just moments prior, she had spoken with her mother to confirm arrangements for her children. Quietly and deliberately, she was preparing to leave behind a life she no longer wanted, one that friends would later describe as emotionally stifling. But her escape was cut short. Authorities say her husband, Britton Alexander Armstrong, the man she once trusted with her heart and future, was the one who pulled the trigger. After killing Jasmine, he fled the home and led officers on a high-speed pursuit along Interstate 35. The chase ended abruptly when Britton turned the weapon on himself. In the aftermath, 2 young children were left parentless, a household turned into a crime scene, and a tight-knit community left grappling with the loss of a bright, beloved woman. As police began digging into the circumstances surrounding the tragedy, a troubling portrait emerged of the Armstrong marriage, one marred by subtle control, emotional dominance, and based on unverified digital reports, a secret Jasmine may have uncovered in her final days. A secret Britton allegedly wanted buried forever. This is the heartbreaking story of Jasmine Armstrong, a devoted mother, a rising academic, a sister, and a friend, whose life was taken not by a stranger, but by the very person she once believed would protect her. Jasmine Yvonne Goldring Armstrong was born on December 31, 1987, in Barstow, California, to parents Julius Timmy and Taisha Goldring. From an early age, she exhibited quiet resilience and inner grace. Raised in a household deeply rooted in love and connection, Jasmine was the kind of child who brought calm wherever she went, thoughtful, nurturing, always ready with a kind word or smile. As the eldest sibling, she naturally took on the role of caretaker, leading by example rather than force. Her parents, who never had the opportunity to pursue higher education, instilled in her a deep appreciation for knowledge, one she fully embraced and carried with pride. Academically gifted, Jasmine consistently excelled in school. Teachers quickly took notice of her intelligence and drive, but what truly set her apart was her heart. Whether it was volunteering to tutor classmates or coordinating student-led initiatives, Jasmine showed a lifelong commitment to service. She became the first in her family to attend and graduate from college, a milestone she wore with pride. Jasmine earned her bachelor's degree in Information Systems Management from the University of Maryland Global Campus and went on to obtain her MBA from Prairie View A&M University, all while juggling work, relationships, and eventually motherhood. For Jasmine, education wasn't just a goal, it was her personal revolution against societal limitations. But her impact stretched far beyond the classroom. A dedicated member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority in Cairns, Jasmine gave her time and energy to mentoring young women, advocating for the elderly, and leading initiatives focused on women's empowerment. Her sorority sisters remembered her as the soul of every room, genuine, driven, and compassionate. She championed literacy programs for underserved children, hosted workshops for parents, and was a passionate voice for justice and equity, particularly for Black women navigating predominantly white academic institutions. Her work spoke volumes, but her kindness spoke louder. As she entered her 30s, Jasmine had blossomed into more than just an academic force. She had become a symbol of hope in her community. A devoted mother, a committed activist, and a trailblazer, she poured herself into lifting others up. Yet what people loved most about Jasmine wasn't just her achievements. It was her presence. She had the rare gift of making others feel important, seen, and deeply valued. At her side for much of that journey was her husband, Britton Alexander Armstrong, a reserved man from San Antonio, Texas. His demeanor was calm, his smile disarming, and he possessed a quiet charm that many found endearing. His social media painted the image of a man with ambition and discipline. He graduated from Harker Heights High School, attended Central Texas College, studied network engineering at Cybertech's Institute of Technology, and even enrolled at Temple College. On the surface, Britton appeared grounded and introverted. He enjoyed painting, gaming, and was an avid Dallas Cowboys fan. He often spoke of his faith and made frequent references to God and family values. To acquaintances and online followers, Britton seemed principled, creative, and low-key. When he met Jasmine, it seemed like a perfect fit. Two thoughtful, driven individuals finding comfort in one another's presence. Their connection was instant. Jasmine, with her intellect and warmth, and Britton, with his calm and quiet allure, complemented each other. Friends described them as affectionate, committed, and seemingly inseparable. Their social media profiles painted a picture-perfect narrative, hand in hand at events, laughing in photos, supporting each other's milestones. Jasmine seemed genuinely content. Those closest to her believed she had found a partner who not only respected her, but cherished her spirit and intellect. Britton often praised her accomplishments and appeared supportive of her educational pursuits and community involvement. Jasmine's family, too, found comfort in the relationship, grateful that she had chosen someone they believed would protect and nurture her. Their love eventually solidified into marriage. In 2017, Jasmine and Britton exchanged vows in an intimate ceremony filled with joy, faith, and promises of forever. Their union was soon blessed with 2 children, a daughter named Belle and a son, Jediah. Jasmine embraced motherhood wholeheartedly. Britton, at least from an outsider's view, appeared to be a present and engaged father. Together, they built what looked like a stable, loving home, a place filled with laughter, late-night study sessions, bedtime routines, and cherished Sunday dinners. But beneath the surface, signs of trouble slowly began to emerge. By 2023, Jasmine was on the cusp of fulfilling one of her most ambitious dreams, earning a doctorate. Her dissertation tackled an issue close to her heart, the portrayal of Black women in academic settings and the stereotypes they often confront. For Jasmine, this work was more than research. It was a mission rooted in her lived experience. She knew what it felt like to be underestimated, to be expected to dim her brilliance in rooms where she belonged. Her research was being recognized by faculty, and she was invited to speak at conferences, write articles, and mentor rising scholars. In the academic world, Jasmine wasn't just another student, she was a rising leader with an important voice and a message that resonated deeply. Despite her public success, Jasmine was also quietly preparing for a personal transformation. Family and close friends noticed that she had started taking steps toward independence. She was making plans, organizing logistics for her children, and aligning herself for a fresh start. That morning, she had one foot out the door, literally. But fate and the man she once loved had other plans. What seemed like a picture-perfect life was, in truth, beginning to fracture. And as Jasmine stood on the edge of freedom, a fatal shot took away everything she had worked for and everything she hoped to become. Back at home, quiet but unsettling changes had begun to surface. Jasmine Armstrong's closest friends and colleagues started to sense something was wrong. The vibrant, self-assured woman they once knew seemed to be dimming. Her social presence faded. She declined invitations more often, offering vague reasons. "The kids need me," or "Britain's not feeling great." Initially, it seemed like the natural result of a busy life. But eventually, the pattern spoke volumes. Jasmine, once effervescent and confident, began appearing reserved, withdrawn. The man she had once called her biggest cheerleader was now beginning to feel like a shadow hanging over her. People around her noticed Britain's behavior too. He had a habit of cutting Jasmine off mid-sentence, minimizing her achievements or correcting her in ways that chipped away at her confidence. Some recalled his subtle yet disturbing habit of checking her phone in public or whispering pointed questions like, "Who was texting you just now?" to which Jasmine would quietly deflect. At a glance, it could be brushed off as jealousy, maybe even misguided love. But this wasn't love. It was the textbook pattern of coercive control, a gradual erosion of autonomy masked as concern. According to Jasmine's sister, Britain had started controlling the household finances, requiring Jasmine to justify nearly every purchase while he spent freely without consulting her. The woman who once stood tall in every space now treaded carefully, even in her own home. Her wardrobe shifted too. Gone were the bright colors and bold statements. Instead, she dressed more conservatively, even on scorching Texas days. And when someone pointed out a bruise on her arm, Jasmine downplayed it with a quick, "I bumped into the dresser." But her tone didn't match the words. The change was too visible to ignore. Her once active online presence had gone nearly silent. She stopped sharing updates on her research or celebrating professional milestones. A colleague remembered seeing her flinch when her phone rang during a faculty meeting. She muted it immediately and rushed out of the room. Later, she simply said, "I need to be home. Britain expects me." The strain was mounting, and then came the breaking point. In February 2024, Jasmine's father, Julius Timmy Goldring, passed away. He had been her anchor, her greatest source of encouragement. The grief was heavy, and in that fragile moment, Jasmine's already strained emotional state began to unravel further. Outwardly, she still kept up appearances. She shared a few uplifting quotes, stayed engaged just enough to seem okay. But the reality was far darker. Inside the walls of her home, the dynamics had shifted entirely. What was once a home filled with affection had become a place of tension, control, and fear. Jasmine had begun to understand that her relationship was no longer safe, possibly never had been. By early 2024, she had reached a turning point. Jasmine, who had always carried herself with dignity and poise, found herself breaking under the pressure. Those around her said that Britain's demeanor had changed. He had become more volatile, emotionally distant, yet unpredictable. That's when Jasmine reportedly filed a sexual assault report against him. Before she went to the authorities, she confided in a trusted friend and academic mentor. Her voice, though shaken, was resolute. She wasn't acting on impulse. She was creating an exit strategy. According to those close to her, Jasmine began looking for alternative housing, quietly consulting legal advisors, and exploring custody arrangements. She was building an escape plan, deliberate and precise. On March 20th, a neighbor overheard raised voices and a loud bang coming from the Armstrong residence. The details of what happened that night remain unclear, but the silence that followed was haunting. Jasmine didn't speak publicly about the confrontation, but what she told her sister the next day was deeply alarming. She had uncovered something about Britton, something that made her feel unsafe, something she believed could no longer stay hidden. She didn't offer details, only that she had to leave. Now, shortly after Jasmine's death, unconfirmed rumors began to surface online. These claims suggested Jasmine had discovered a deeply personal secret about Britton. Some hinted that it involved infidelity. Others went further, speculating she had found evidence suggesting he was engaged in secret relationships, possibly with men. A few blogs even alleged she had confronted him about his sexuality. None of these claims have ever been verified by law enforcement or the family. No police reports or court filings confirmed any such discovery. But one thing remains undisputed. Jasmine had decided to walk away, and she was in the final stages of doing so. On Friday, March 22nd, Jasmine met with a divorce attorney. She took inventory of household items and visited her children's school to update pickup authorizations, ensuring Britton could no longer remove the children without her approval. Every step was strategic. Jasmine wasn't just preparing, she was taking action. Later that day, neighbors reported strange behavior from Britton. They saw him pacing the driveway, agitated, taking multiple trips between his car and the house. One neighbor claimed to have overheard an angry phone conversation, though the context remains unclear. Tensions were rising and time was running out. Saturday morning, March 23, 2024. Temple, Texas, was just beginning to stir. Around 6:30 a.m., Jasmine placed a call to her mother. It lasted 4 minutes. She confirmed plans for her children to stay over. Her tone was calm, her decision final. Jasmine was leaving. She had her bag packed, her keys in hand. What she didn't know was that Britton had returned. Cell tower data later confirmed that Britton had been away overnight. But by 7:45 a.m., his vehicle was seen pulling into the driveway of their Broken Shoe Trail home. Security footage from a neighbor's camera showed the car approaching the house slowly. Then, at 7:55 a.m., everything fell apart. A neighbor called 911 after hearing shouting followed by a single, loud gunshot. Officers rushed to the scene. What they found was heartbreaking. Near the entrance, Jasmine Armstrong lay unresponsive. She had sustained a fatal gunshot wound to the chest. Her car keys were still clutched in her hand. Her travel bag was packed and sitting close by. She had been moments away from freedom. Upstairs, officers found the couple's children, Belle and Jediah, unharmed but terrified. The eldest told a victim advocate they had heard their parents arguing. Jasmine had told them to go upstairs and lock the door. And they did. Investigators believe Britton confronted Jasmine near the front door, blocking her exit. He pulled out a handgun, legally registered to him, and fired once. One single, devastating shot. Then, he disappeared. By the time law enforcement made it to the Armstrong residence, Britton had already vanished, driving off in a silver sedan and leaving behind a scene filled with sorrow, shattered innocence, and 2 young lives forever changed. Jasmine Armstrong wasn't reckless. She was courageous. She was taking the necessary steps to reclaim her freedom. And for that, she paid the ultimate price. After fatally shooting his wife, Britton Alexander Armstrong sped away from the home they once shared. His vehicle, a silver sedan, was last seen moving swiftly through Temple, Texas. Authorities quickly pieced the situation together and issued an all-points bulletin. Patrol units were dispatched, and within the hour, his car was spotted heading down Interstate 35. Officers initiated pursuit, but Britton didn't stop. Instead, he accelerated, reaching dangerous speeds of over 90 miles per hour. Dash cam footage later revealed the car weaving erratically through traffic, narrowly dodging collisions. It wasn't just a getaway, it was a desperate escape from the weight of his crime. The high-speed pursuit continued for nearly 20 miles. Near Belton, Texas, as Britton attempted to exit the highway, he lost control. The vehicle careened off the road and slammed into a metal guardrail. The impact was jarring. Officers cautiously approached, not knowing if he intended to flee, fire, or surrender. Then came a chilling sound, one final gunshot. When police reached the vehicle, they discovered Britton slumped in the driver's seat, fatally wounded by a self-inflicted bullet to the head. The firearm recovered from the scene was confirmed to be the same weapon used to take Jasmine's life. In just a few hours, a family had been torn apart, 2 parents dead and 2 children left behind in the wake of unimaginable violence. In the days that followed, the names at the heart of the tragedy, Jasmine's children, Belle and Jediah, remained quietly overshadowed. But their loss was immeasurable. In an instant, their entire world had collapsed. Belle, the older sibling, was already living with the challenges of autism, a condition that required consistency, support, and emotional care. The trauma of losing both parents so violently only deepened the wounds. Jasmine's mother, Taisha, and extended family members quickly stepped in. They traveled to Texas immediately and assumed temporary custody of the children. The woman who had been Jasmine's anchor now became a lifeline for Belle and Jediah. Residents, shaken by the tragedy, mobilized fast. One neighbor, who had known the family for years, organized a GoFundMe campaign to support the children's long-term care. Contributions poured in, surpassing $11,000 within days. But financial help wasn't the only priority. Therapists and counselors specializing in childhood trauma, grief, and autism were brought in. Community groups provided essentials, clothing, educational materials, emotional support, ensuring that Jasmine's children would have every opportunity to heal in an environment of compassion. Jasmine had always worked to uplift those around her. Now, the people she once empowered stood in unity to protect the ones she loved most. Though her arms could no longer hold her children, the strength of the village she built surrounded them. On April 16, 2024, hundreds gathered at the Willie A. Watkins Historic West End Chapel to celebrate Jasmine Yvonne Goldring Armstrong's life. The chapel overflowed with mourners, family, friends, fellow sorority sisters, educators, and students, each carrying their memories of her legacy. Many wore blue and white to honor her deep commitment to Zeta Phi Beta sorority, Inc. Some arrived as mentees, others as colleagues, all united in their grief and admiration. The tributes painted a portrait of a woman whose impact was both profound and personal. Sorority sisters described Jasmine as a force of purpose, leading outreach for military families, championing senior care, and mentoring young women. Professors and classmates remembered her as a sharp academic mind who wasn't afraid to question systemic inequality. Jasmine's family shared heartfelt memories, her gentle spirit, her brilliant mind, and her unwavering devotion to her children and community. Jasmine wasn't just remembered, she was honored. A scholarship bearing her name was soon created to help first-generation Black women pursue higher education. Through this fund, Jasmine's mission continues. She had always fought for opportunity, for visibility, for equity, and in her name, that fight carries on. As the community attempted to heal, one haunting question remained unanswered. Why? What drove Britton Armstrong, a man who once claimed to love Jasmine, to murder her in cold blood? What exactly had she learned in those final days that made her so certain she had to flee? These questions continue to linger. No suicide note was ever found. No official motive was released. And though the internet has swirled with speculation, some suggesting Jasmine uncovered a hidden truth about Britton's private life, no verified documents, witness statements, or police reports have substantiated any theory. Still, one truth is undeniable. Jasmine was ready to leave, and Britton couldn't handle it. This case serves as a stark warning. Intimate partner violence doesn't always start with a bruise or a scream. Sometimes it begins with control, quiet criticism, financial domination, or emotional withdrawal. What happened to Jasmine is a devastating example of coercive control escalating into irreversible tragedy. Her murder underscores a truth all too familiar in the world of true crime. When power and control become more important than love or respect, danger isn't far behind. So we say her name, we share her story, we honor her fight, and we work to ensure that other women like Jasmine don't suffer in silence or walk their path alone. Her light, her resilience, her purpose all live on through the lives she touched and the children she loved. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. For more powerful and heartbreaking cases like this, check out our well-curated playlist, linked in the description. At True Crimes Venue, we remain committed to telling the stories that matter. Stay alert, stay safe, and remember, justice begins with truth. True Crimes Venue, where every story has a voice.